Hello, good morning. How are we all doing today? Please let me know in the comments if you can hear me okay. There may be a little bit of background noise today. We've got the diggers, the builders, all sorts going on. So I will absolutely do my best to make sure there's no distraction for you and you can make along with me today for these lovely, I've named them Shannan pearl drop necklaces. So they will look something like this. Lovely glass pearls, little bits of chain and some dangles. So they're really straightforward to do. We're just going to be turning some loops on the bottom of the chain, attaching them as we go and then just threading them onto that main neckline. These kits have got lovely magnetic clasps with them. Of course, if you prefer, you can swap that out. You could add an extended chain onto it if you wanted to make it longer. You could change the length of these tassels as well, and you can have them more in kind of like a choker style if you like. You could do whatever you would like to do with these. So I'm going to say a very quick good morning, and I'm going to take you over to the website while it's reasonably quiet in the background. Good morning to Carol, how are you doing? Good morning to Rachel, who's in a wet barrow. It is very wet and drizzly here today. Good morning to Just Me, she says good morning. Good morning to Mina. Camille says good morning. How was your girly trip? This was not my girly trip. This was I had a little trip away at the weekend. We went to Torquay. It was absolutely beautiful. The weather was a bit drizzly, but I went with my husband's family and all of my nephews. So there was more boys than there was girls. But it was lovely. I even went for a dip in the sea, which I was so impressed with myself. We did a little bit of crabbing, and guess who was the only one to catch a crab? We put him back. Yeah, it was lovely. Thank you so much for asking. I'll say I'm feeling refreshed. I've had an absolute ton of washing, and obviously I haven't really got kitchen at the moment, so it's been a challenge. I also haven't got a washing line, so challenge to get everything washed and dried. Tomorrow is Thursday, isn't it? So it's my little one's first day back at school as well. So since coming home, I've been making sure I've got all the uniform ready to go. That's tonight's challenge. So good morning to Heather, good morning to Anastasia, good morning to Izzy, thank you very much. Good morning to Heather. I hope you are well. I'm sending you lots of love. Tickling my throat, which isn't, it's not going to be one of those days. It's going to be brilliant today. I hope you love these. I'm going to take you over to the website now so you can see if you would like to make exactly what I'm making with exactly the same things, then head over to totallybeads.co.uk. I'm already in them at the moment, but I'll go back a page so you can see how to find them. So we head into our video tutorial section, or learn to make jewelry making at the top, and click into video tutorials that way. It will bring up all the lovely things that we've been making, and this is the Shannan drop necklace. So we've got colours for you on a gold colourway and also on a silver colourway. They're all £6.99 for your kits. I think it makes 2 necklaces. I will double check for you. So we have a French grey on the silver, we've got lemon chiffon on the gold, we have beautiful olive green on the gold, we have a powder blue, which is on the silver, and we also have a rose pink on the gold. So I'll show you what you get in each one of your kits. They are £6.99 for your kit. It makes up all the content you need to make 2 necklaces. So we've got some lovely glass pearl rounds, we have some lovely chain, jump rings, tiger tail, a magnetic clasp, some head pins, callotes and crimp beads, and that's all you're going to need. In terms of tools, I would suggest chain nose pliers and flat nose pliers, round nose pliers, wire cutters. You might want a bead stopper. You might want to use a loop tool instead. All of the pearls I'm using are 6mm in size. You've got that lovely magnetic spotted clasp, which is 8mm, and the chain I'm using here is an oval pattern chain. It's 4 by 3mm. So I've measured this out how I want it, and I will explain to you how many links I've used. Of course, if you are using your own stuff or you want to use a different chain, then you will need to kind of adapt that for your measurements, because I'll be telling you how many links and how many centimetres and convert that into inches for you. So this one here is the very pretty French grey necklace on the silver. We have the lemon chiffon, which is on the gold colourway. So all the same components, all the same dimensions, you're just getting different colours. So this one's gold with a beautiful lemon chiffon. I'm going to be a bit cheeky today and I'm going to mix it up. So my lemon chiffon is going to be what I use to predominantly run around the whole neckline. And then for my little kind of dangly chain tassels, I'm going to mix up and I'm going to use a mix of colours, and I'm going to use all of the gold findings. So I'll show you what it looks like if you did want to maybe multi-buy, you wanted to mix different colours in. This one, still £6.99. Of course, if you want to change your currency, just head here where I'm hovering at the top of the page and you could change that to wherever you want it to be. This is the olive, so a really gorgeous green. This, in terms of all of the glass pearls are totally beads, this is my favourite shade of green, I'm going to suggest. I just love it. It's got such a softness to it. It's really, really pretty. So that one is your olive, and that one is on the gold colourway. We have a pretty powder blue, which I've put on the silver. Again, if you wanted to, change your colours, you can always add more. So if you think, actually, I'd like to get the different colourway, but I'd like it with the silver, then you can add in that extra chain if you want to, or you can add in just a quick add there if you wanted to add in some extra strands of those pearls. The pearls are only £1.44 for a strand, and you get loads on there. So you can always add in some additional ones if you want to. And then lastly, but by no means least, we've got the rose pink. Very, very pretty. I've put this on the gold. It would also look beautiful on the silver. Again, you're getting all of your chain, your jump rings, your Tigertail wire, your magnetic clasp, your headpins, your callotes and your crimps. All in that kit, enough to make 2 necklaces. So they're the colours. I'm running through it a little bit fast because I think this is the bit you might want to know, and this is the bit I don't want all the noisy stuff going on in the background for. So there are Shannan necklaces today: French grey, lemon chiffon, olive, powder blue, and a beautiful rose pink. All £6.99 to make 2 necklaces from totallybeads.co.uk. I just made us a little jingle there, didn't I? We haven't got a jingle. You don't want me singing the jingle. So let me say hello to anybody I may have missed. If you've got any questions, do drop me a comment and I will do my very best to answer you here right now in live time. Of course, if you're watching us back at any point, you can watch these videos back whenever you want to. Maybe you get the kit and then think, I'll do that another day, and then you might want to come back to us, or you might be just looking for a little bit of inspiration one day. You can always still drop us a comment if you're watching on YouTube, and I will do my best to answer it as well. Camille says, I think my grandson goes back next week. They're all over the place. I think Thursday's a really odd day to go back to school. By the time they're back in, it's off again, but it is what it is. It might give me a chance to just get through the first couple of days. Good morning to Yolanda. Hello to Esther. How are you doing? She says, very wet in Preston. I apologise if anybody has sent me messages and I haven't got back to you. I've been away. I've been collecting sea glass. I've been swimming in the sea. It was very cold. It was all right when you were in, but I was dead impressed with myself. Good morning to Elaine. Good morning to Heather saying, ooh, I like the pink. And Rachel's in as well. Okay, let's go down onto the mat and let's get making. What shall we do first? Let's make our pins. So we're going to be using the head pins. Like I explained to you in, I think it was one of the last lives, I was talking about the difference between an eye pin and a head pin. You can see this head pin has got like a really flush tip at the end. It's like a little nail, nice and flat, and I'm going to slide just one bead onto there in whichever colourway that I have chosen. So I'm going to make 11 of these. I'm just going to slide my bead on, and I want to make sure that that bead falls right down towards the bottom of the tip. Sometimes there might be a little bit of that colour coating on it, so just give it a little wiggle if need be and push it right down. So to turn my loop, I'm not doing wrap loops with these. You could if you wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to give it a bend right up top close to the bead. So I'm going to position my pliers where that pearl is, and I'm going to push it across. So I'm going to give a little bend in it. You can either push the bead or you can push the pin itself, but we want it fairly close. I did put a little bit of a wobble in that, but it doesn't matter too much. I want to bend it to pretty much a horizontal 90-degree bend. Now I bend my pins first and then cut and then turn, and that's going to make sure that my loop's going to sit nice and flush and neat at the top of the bead here. So I only need a small loop, so I'm going to come in with my cutters and I'm going to trim, leaving myself about 1 centimetre from that bend. So where the bend is, I'm going to give myself about 1 centimetre. I'd say that's 1 centimetre there or thereabouts. I'm going to hold on to the tail end of the pin so it doesn't fire away. We spoke last week about how you can turn these into eye pins, which is the pins with the loop at the top, and you can do that really easily with your round nose pliers, just giving it a little turn to create a little eye pin. So if you do have extra cut-offs off the pin, keep those, you can use them again. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my round nose pliers and often just run, oh, don't start pausing and freezing on me now. We've had issues with the lecky, but it's not, this isn't it. This is just it going slow. So I'm just going to make it nice and flush so it's not sticking out. If I've got a bit of the pin sticking out behind the pliers, what's going to happen is it's not all going to turn. So I'm going to make it nice and flush, and I'm using the small tip of the round nose pliers. I'm supporting the bead between my thumb and my finger. I'm going to give it a little flick up, reposition my hand, and little tiny twists just to create a little loop at the top. Now, that didn't go too well. And what did we say last time? How many of these have I made? Sometimes they look perfect. Sometimes they need a little bit of adjusting. I think that one isn't the straightest one I've done. So I'm going to do another one. I tend to find the more I slow it down, the worse it gets. I have a nice kind of momentum usually, and that just turns it. So bending my pin, leaving around 1 centimetre, popping in my round nose pliers, making sure it's nice and flush, just giving it a little turn with the handle, but I'm supporting that bead as I go. So just little rotations on it to straighten up and make sure my loop is closed, small loop on the top. If you do need to centre it a little bit more, just pop your round nose pliers back in and reposition. So I'm going to do that on 11 beads. If you want more tassels, you might want to have more pearls, but I'm just using 11 in this design. I'll also show you how to do it with the looper tool if you prefer. So if you've got one of these, this is going to turn your loops. It usually says what size the loop is that you're turning, and then all of your loops will be pretty much exactly the same. So bead onto the head pin as usual, pushing that right through so it comes out the other side. So there's a little hole at the back of the looper tool, and my pin's got to go all the way through. Then as I close the handle, really straightforward, you'll see it cuts off the pin for me and it turns that loop. So then I just shake it out and I have my loop, but it's never properly fully closed. So, well, it is when I do it. So what I do is I put my round nose pliers in and I'm going to give it a turn. But you can see I've turned it into a P shape slightly. That loop's not fully central. So then I just take the very tip of the round nose plier and I'm going to just push the bead back slightly. There you go, that's a better angle for you. And then I can just make sure that that loop is nice and closed. And then I'm going to be able to open and close the loop. just by lifting that little point here. If we make wrap loops, we can't reopen it. It's fully wrapped and it's fully closed. So this is just making a loop that we can then open to attach on the chain. Do it again one more time with the loop tool. Bead, push the bead right up. So I want the bead to sit here at the cut-in point, supporting it. And then what you can do as well is if you want to, you can push down a little bit and bend slightly on that bead, and that will just kind of probably make it a little bit more central. Still want to fully close it. There's a little bit of a gap. Is it just going slow for me, or is everybody else okay? It's just my camera. My hands are going faster than the camera is. I'm going to turn that loop to close it and then pop my round nose pliers back in just to straighten it up. So I have a loop on the top. Heather says, I went through my stash and I found 8 kits to make. Luckily, I'm off for 3 days. Well, you best get cracking. Heather, what did you get? Anything nice? Good morning, Pauline. So I'm going to do this. So I have 11 beads. Let's just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you can see I've got a mix of the colours there. I've got some lemon chiffon. I've got some lovely... did I just use one colour blue? Yeah, I didn't use the powder blue. Oh well, there you go. I've got a mix of my colours. We've got the olive in there. We've got that rose pink. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these onto my lengths of chain. Now I'm going to cut 11 pieces of chain in total. I want 6 of one size and 5 lengths of another size. And the size I'm using for the 5, which is going to be the slightly longer ones, I'm going to count 20 of my links. Now, if you don't want to count the links on your chain, and of course this chain is all in your kit, so you can, if you're using 20 links, it will measure the same as mine. 20 links is approximately 5.5 centimeters, which I think is 2.1 inches. So you could measure them if you want to. I did count mine, but of course you can just measure against a ruler if you want. So what I would do is I would hold the end and I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then when I get to my 20th link, I'm just going to find the opening on that link. So it just opens up like a little jump ring. I'm going to give it a little turn towards me, and then I'm going to slide it off the rest of the length. Now, if you want to, you can discard that last link, or you can just make sure you close it properly. You need to make sure that you've closed it so it doesn't fall off your tiger tail or your pins don't fall off. And then to do that, all I'm going to do is just, again, as I'd open and close a jump ring, just giving it a little twist to make sure I've closed that length of chain. I tend to do mine kind of like in batches. So I make all my pearls first, then I cut all the lengths of my chain, and then I string them on. So I'm going to need 5 lengths, this length, or whichever length you want, but 5 of the same. I'm using 20 links, and that's 5.5 centimeters. Then I'm going to do 6 lengths, which are slightly smaller. I'm just going to count 15 links, which will work out at about 4 centimeters, which I think is about 1.6 inches. So if you prefer, you can measure against your ruler the length that you want. We do want them to be the same length as each little group. And then what we're going to do, because it's not soldered, we're going to find the opening on that chain. I'm going to take 2 pairs of pliers. So I've got my tweezer nose here and my chain nose. I'm going to open it up, take it off the length of my chain, and then close it back up and make sure it is fully closed. So I've now got 5 little lengths in of 20 links, which is 5.5 centimeters or 2.1 inches, and then I've got 6 lengths of 4 centimeters, which is 15 links, and that's about 1.6 inches. All I'm going to do now is attach them on to my colours. So because I've mixed my colours, I am going to try and arrange them. I'll have 11 in total. So I'm going to kind of lay them out, I think, how I would like them positioned on my necklace. I'm going to have a bit of an odd. So I might go pink, blue, green, and then I might reverse and do green, blue, pink. And then I'm going to do something random like that. I'm going to lay them out. Doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to attach them onto the lengths of the chain. So I'm going to pick up my turned loop on my pin. I'm going to give it a little flick to open. I'm going to attach that onto the last link of my chain. And I'm going to make sure that that loop is fully closed down again by just making sure those two ends of it touch each other, essentially, and it's fully closed. And I'm going to work along and do that. So I've attached 11 of my pearls onto the various size lengths of the chain. Making sure it's nice and closed, not just the actual chain link, but the loop that I've created that sits on top of the pearl that I've made with the eye pin. So I'm just opening and closing it. To open and close, I'm just gonna flick up and slide on. I'm making sure I'm sliding that onto the last link of the chain before I close down. Flick up, slide on. They're a nice, fun project to make. There's nothing complicated. I say I just do it in stages. So I'll turn my loops, I'll cut my chain, I'll attach them on, and then all I need to do is just string it together. So a nice, straightforward project, but gives a really, really pretty look. And again, because you've got those dangling chains, I think it gives quite a formal look, really. So you could wear these, you know, a little bit of sparkle for the party season approaching, but also because the colours in them, they're predominantly quite pastel, the colours, so they'd look nice during the summer as well, what's left of it. But you could wear this with, you know, a high neck jumper, a t-shirt, a ball gown, whatever you fancy. Don't recall the last time I wore a ball gown. Maybe when I finally get my new kitchen, I might have a little soiree and I might pop a ball gown on with a pair of rubber gloves and do the dishes. Just looking forward to the simple things, like the little things that you take for granted. It really, really is. Like, we've got so many kitchen appliances now that when my house was built, which was 1930s, you know, they probably didn't have all of the things that I have now. Right, I have mixed up those colours. I think I'm gonna so I'm gonna lay my chain out. So what I wanted to do is I want to alternate. So I'm going to have 15 links, 20 links, 15 links, 20 links. The shorter, the longer. The short chain, the longer chain, the shorter chain, the longer chain, the shorter chain. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap, because I've got an extra pink. So what I might do, just because I've mixed the colours up, I might put that one there, and then I might, I'm just designing now, I'm having a play. Just want to see how I'd like to arrange those colours. Don't really want two colours to be together, but I did want it to end on the same one. But I think I'm going to change it. So if I put that one That's my shorter length. Might do that one, and then swap them over like that. That's a little bit better. So shorter, longer, shorter, longer, shorter, longer, shorter, longer, shorter, longer, shorter. And then I think I'm happy with the colours that I've chosen. This is only an issue if you are deciding to multi-bite and mix your colours up. Your kit will all have one colour of the glass pails in, so you won't have to have that issue. Pauline's saying she likes the mixed colours. I know, Heather. She says that festive period is fast approaching. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a length of my Tigertail. I'm going to cut about 50 centimetres for mine, which is approximately, how many inches is that? I think it's just under 20 inches. So I'm going to cut my length of Tigertail. And what I'm going to start doing is threading on my beads and my chain tassels. So Camille saying pajamas. Yeah, I know, but don't feel appropriate if I'm not dressed. Though, to be fair, what I love about my job is I could sit here now and I could be dressed from the top off, and for all you know, I could have my pajamas on. Well, I've got my slippers on, but I don't think that matters. So I'm going to take my length of beads. I'm going to get those ready. I'm using these beautiful lemon ones. Can you see? I could do with moving my camera down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the longer length. That's going to be my center. So I'm going to take the long length, which has got 20 links on it, which is 5.5 centimeters, or I worked it out about 2.1 inches. And I'm going to thread that right in the middle. So I'm going to take that last link of the chain, the opposite side to where the bead's dangling off, and I'm just going to thread that on to the middle. I'm then going to let's open up my pearl strand. Give that a little cut. I'm going to take 3 pearls, and I'm going to place 3 pearls onto one side, or one end of the Tigertail, or my beading thread, and drop them down. And then I'm going to add 3 onto the opposite end of the thread. So it will sit in the center like that. I'm then going to thread on one of my smaller lengths of chain. So this had 15 links on it, and I'm going to put that on one side, and then I'm going to pick up the other one, which has got 15 links on it. I'm going to slide that onto the other side. So I'm going to be alternating between the chain lengths that I'm using, and each time I'm going to separate them out using 3 of these 6mm glass pearls. I could, I suppose, have added different colours into the neckline. I think that would look nice. You could just have the middle one being a different colour to echo the colours of your beads at the bottom. But I'm going to just keep it simple. So now I've used the longer one, and I'm going to add on that last link, and I'm just sliding the link through the Tigertail chain. And again, the longer section on the other side, and I'm sliding that on as well. And then 3 pearls onto one side, and 3 onto the other. Back to the smaller length on one side, smaller length on the other. just passing that tiger tail through the link on the chain. Really straightforward. So we're just easy bead stringing now. We're just adding on the chain sections as we go. Another 3 pearls. And I find it easier to work off both sides at the same time, if that makes sense. So I'll slide my chain onto one end and then swap sides to slide the chain onto the other end. Then I add on my pearls. Onto both sides just to separate them out before I add on the next length of chain. So I'm going to be adding 11 lengths of chain in total. I've got 6 of one size and 4 of the other, and I'm finishing with the smaller on the outer. And then as that necklace curves around the neckline, they will all kind of stagger like so. So when I'm happy with my placement and my layout and my colours, I'm just going to add a little bead stopper just onto one end of the tiger tail because I don't want them to fall off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add 20 pearls onto either side. Now, if you want to make this necklace longer or shorter, you can just adjust the length of, or the amount rather, of pearls that you're putting on now. So I'm just going to thread these on. Is it getting noisier in the background? You can as well, if you want to, rather than picking them up one by one, you can just line up your tiger tail and the thread that your pearls come on and swap them that way. I don't know if you can hear, but one of my builders is singing. No copyright intended. Okay, so I should have 20 on there now. Doesn't matter how many you put on. All I would say is make this length the same as that length, so you've got that even balance of your chain tassels in the middle. I will double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, then what I'm going to do is in fact, I'll pop my crimp bead and callote on at this point now. So I'm going to take my crimp beads, which will come in your kit, and I'm always going to double up, so I will add 2 crimp beads onto each side, just to make sure it's extra sturdy and secure. You can, of course, string on the opposite side now if you want, but I find if you add this on now, then this acts as a bead stopper. So I'm going to put my callote on, so it's facing up and outwards, and I'm going to add 2 of my crimp beads. So I'm going to slide one onto the tiger tail and another onto the tiger tail. I'm then going to take one back up to the very end of the tiger tail, and I'm going to push it down to flatten it with my pliers. So that's now holding on in place, nice and firm. I'm going to slide the next crimp bead up to meet it. So it's gonna, so you can see now one's round and one's been flattened. So just taking that right up to the next one and press down onto there to flatten that as well. And then bringing up the callote over both of them. These callotes are made so that they will fit 2 crimp beads inside of them, nice and securely. If you've got any tiger tail sticking out the last crimp bead there, then just give it a little cut off. Sliding the callote up and over, gentle press down with my fingers to get those loops aligned, and then a gentle press on the outside of it, just fully close, like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide up all of the beads and the chain tassels right up to that last calotte on that last bead, and I'm going to add 20 pearls onto this side as well, so it's nice and even and those chain tassels will balance in the middle. So I'm just going to take these pearls off my thread. Just going to open up my next strand because I'm using what I had left on one. I just want to make sure that however many I put onto one side, I'm putting onto the other side as well, just to make sure that it's nice and even and balanced, and all my tassels will then be in the centre of the neckline. So that should be 20. Yep, so I'm going to push them right down. Again, if you want to make this longer, you can add on some extra pearls to that if you wish to do so, or you can add an extended chain. I'm going to use a lovely magnetic clasp, so I'm going to just leave it at that length. I quite like this being a little bit higher up on the neckline for me. So I'm going to add on my calotte, making sure I've got that nice curved shape in my necklace. And I'm going to get my crimp beads out again. Camille says I wasn't talking about you in your pyjamas, said I was referring to wearing the necklace with all different style of dresses. You could definitely wear this with your pyjamas. I think it's just that's just going to finish off any bedtime outfit. Oh, you do make me laugh. Okay, so I'm going to add on my crimp bead. This time I'm just going to add the one on to begin with. I'm going to let that drop right down into the center. I'm going to come in with my pliers and I'm going to press it down. So what I want is I don't really want any gaps. I want it to be a nice tension, but there's no gaping space between my pearls and my calotte. So press that down and just making sure that it's nice and kind of compressed. It's going to hold that calotte in place and stop that sliding off and losing my beads. And then I'm still going to double crimp, so I'm going to add the next one on and I'm going to push that down, if you can see, in between my hands. So it's still going down to the next crimp bead. Can you see those two between my pliers? And that's going to make it a little bit extra safe. If one fails, the other one shouldn't. So then I'm going to trim off any excess tiger tail that I've got. Got quite a lot of extra tiger tail there. And then I'm going to trim it again because there's still a little bit which I didn't quite get. Then I'm going to fold the calotte over those crimp beads and again just push down gently onto the calotte just to make sure the crimp beads are hidden inside and those little parts of the calotte are closed and sturdy. All I have to do now is add on my magnetic clasp and you will get your jump rings in the kit to do so. So I'm taking my jump ring and I'm threading it through the loop on one side of the magnetic clasp and then taking that same jump ring and I'm going to attach it onto one end of the calotte, going through both of those loops. Where's my pliers? And then I'm going to give it a little twist to close, making sure it's closed properly. So I'm closing that jump ring by moving it away from me. Give a little wiggle to align if need be. And then the same with the other one. So opening up my jump ring by giving it a little twist towards me, sliding it on through the other loop. I keep my magnetic clasp closed when I do this, but to be honest, unless you're multi-buying, it's going to fit together because it's magnetic. And then closing it, making sure nicely aligned, and then you can just open up. They're nice and strong. So I will pop it on for you. I have got a necklace on under my jumper, but you can see the length of it then where this one sits on me. Of course, everybody's different, everybody's shapes are different, but I mean, it'd go better with pajamas, wouldn't it, Camille? But it's gonna sit like this. Really, really pretty. Quite like the mix of those colours. So these are the Shannan drop necklaces. If you head over to the Totally Beads website, which I will like to take you over to now if I can, it is totallybeads.co.uk. Head into the jewellery making category, and this is where you will find all of the necklaces. Am I sharing that? Can you see that okay? So they are £6.99. If you want to change that and convert it, just because I know we do have a lot of people stateside often watching, if I convert that into US dollars, that means you're making 2 necklaces up for just $7.86, which is an absolute bargain. You can get the French grey, the lemon chiffon, the olive, the powder blue, or the rose pink. Let's just for fun's sake see how much that is in. We got euros. Well, it's all alphabetical, isn't it? Where's the euros gone? I don't know, but you can see all of the. Oh well, it's just. Sorry, I'm having a moment. So you just need to find a place that uses euros. So let's see if we got Ireland on the list. There you go. Oh, I'm having a moment. So if you wanted to know how much these would be in euros, they are €6.76, which for 2 necklaces is really good, I think. You get French grey, lemon chiffon, olive, powder blue, rose pink, or what I'm wearing is this lovely mixed colourway. Builders have moved to the front of the house, which is where I'm sitting, so it's about to get a whole lot more noisy, so I think it's probably the best time for me to say love ya and leave ya. I hope you're all well. I hope you had a lovely week. If you've got small ones or little ones in your life, I hope they have a fabulous time back in school, whenever that might be. Just Me says, lovely necklace. Thank you, Natalie. You're very welcome. Rachel says, pretty make. Thank you, Natalie. It's my pleasure. So have a lovely week, everybody. Have a lovely weekend ahead. I will be back with you on Monday. I've got some gorgeous bracelets to make with you on Monday. So if you can join me then, it would be my pleasure to be with you and to hopefully have things a little bit quieter in the background. I'll see you all soon, everybody. Take care. Bye.